What's up, losers? Today I'm back once more with another couple of interesting posts from r/fatlogic to read and react to. This is episode 68 in the fatlogic series, and I'm eager to see what manner of lunacy awaits me on this occasion. So without further ado, let's get into it.
I was just denied knee surgery, bilateral total knee replacement, because of my BMI. The surgeon says he has a preferred BMI of 35, and would not consider me as a candidate for surgery until I reached it, even though he admitted to me that his assessment of the condition of my knees, in isolation, made me a candidate for immediate TKR. The last time I was at a BMI that met his criteria, I was in my teens, and I was so thin I looked sick.
Okay, so, I'm not going to offer an opinion on whether it is better for surgeons to offer knee replacements to morbidly obese people, or to withhold them until a certain BMI threshold is met. Because I'm not a surgeon or medical expert, from taking a quick look at some research, it appears that there is an argument either way, with both sides acknowledging the increased risk of poor outcomes in morbidly obese patients, but one side suggesting that it is better to respond early in spite of this, than to make fat people wait around while they try, and possibly fail, to lose weight, and the problem gets worse. As I say, I am not in a position to come down on one side or another of this debate. I just thought I would offer a little context that I was able to gather from a quick Google search. What I am willing to share my opinion on, however, is the suggestion that a BMI below 35 is so thin that it looks sick, which I can only describe as totally nuts. Like, a BMI of 35 is not low at all. By normal standards, that's huge. I, for one, can hardly imagine being that large. And I imagine that I am far from alone in that. If someone with a BMI of 35 can be said to look sick, it's not because they are dangerously thin, or something. It's the opposite. At such a high BMI you're well into the obese category. And being that large is already putting your health at significant risk. The idea that at that size you're too thin is just laughable. It really goes to show how untethered fat activists have become from reality. Through the constant raising of the bar for genuine fatness, and their relentless fearmongering over eating disorders, that people can say stuff like this, without a shred of irony, and no doubt find a community of people online who feel the same way they do. To validate the delusions, all I can say is, I'm not playing along. This is not normal, and it's certainly not healthy. It's just profoundly worrying.
Fatphobia is an artifact of white supremacy. It fosters eugenics. It confounds misogyny and cis-sexism. Being fat doesn't make one unhealthy, or vulnerable to disease, or less capable, and even if it did, it still wouldn't be anyone's business to police.
Wow, not gonna lie, this post is pretty impressive, if for nothing other than its ability to fit a record amount of crazy BS into two sentences, like credit where it's due. It would definitely have taken me more words than that to achieve a similar level of clownery. Kudos, I guess. Seriously though, fatphobia is an artifact of white supremacy. Really, are we really going to keep racializing fatness and acting like we're the anti-racists? Black people are not inherently fat, nor are they immune to the health consequences of obesity. Deciding that being thin is just a white people thing is not only inaccurate, but also deeply harmful to black people. And frankly, it's just plain offensive. Black people do not just have to accept being fat because they're black. And black people who lose weight are not somehow giving in to white supremacy. Or whatever. So can we stop with this whole line of argumentation, please? It's exhausting. I don't know how they figure that fatphobia is fostering eugenics, either. Fat people have children, and nobody is trying to put a stop to that. And if you think about it, why would we? It's fat acceptance that tells us that obesity is genetic. If one accepts that weight is determined by behavior, and not genetics, there's no reason to advocate for eugenics anyway. Because we can just, diet. So yeah, this doesn't hold up either. But nice try though. As for confounding misogyny and cis-sexism, aren't misogyny and cis-sexism bad, and wouldn't confounding them therefore be good? Maybe I'm missing something, but I think they must have just used the word confound incorrectly. Whoops. On to the second part of the post. Actually, being fat does make one unhealthy, vulnerable to disease, and less capable than they would otherwise be. So you're wrong on all three counts there. And once again I reiterate, nobody is policing fatness. People just aren't going out of their way to accommodate and coddle fat people beyond all reason. If anybody is doing the policing, it's the fat activists who are constantly making ridiculous demands of regular people, who are just trying to live their lives, and mind their own business. So yeah, maybe instead of going after everyone else, you should take a look in the mirror. Provided that you can find one large enough, haha. Moving on.
If your healthcare provider recommends going on a diet for weight loss to help cure your health conditions, it's time to get a new healthcare provider. Anti-diet coach.
Good Lord, what kind of fricked up time are we living in? When you have people out here advertising themselves as anti-diet coaches, and, presumably, people actually buying into their obvious snake oil. Like, where did we go wrong, guys? How did we even get to this point? I'm seriously scratching my head. My first, and most serious, problem with this post, is that it's wildly irresponsible to actively discourage people from listening to the advice of medical professionals. Those medical professionals are professional for a reason. They are highly trained, highly educated on the matters for which they provide guidance, and ethically required to do what is best for the patient at all times. Is the medical system perfect? No, obviously there are things that can be improved on a systemic level. There are some doctors who fall short of professional or ethical standards. And there is always the potential for human error. But it's a pretty good system, all things considered, and I, for one, am grateful to have access to it. Telling people to just ignore the advice of medical professionals until they can find someone who will tell them exactly what they want to hear is nothing short of dangerous. And making a name for yourself as an anti-diet coach by spreading such harmful advice is exploitative and gross. For all fat activists may lament the apparent financial incentives that drive medical research and practice. They're remarkably quiet on the rampant quackery and opportunism in their own community. Then again, that's probably because they're the ones buying into it, haha. My final question in relation to this post is, what exactly does an anti-diet coach do? It doesn't seem that hard to just not diet, and if anyone has it down perfectly, it's fat people. So what is the coach for? Exactly. Do they, hand their client a piece of chocolate cake and tell them they're doing the right thing by eating it? Shout motivational phrases as they chomp down? Critique their chewing technique, wipe the smeared food off their cheeks as they go, so they don't have to take a break? I don't know, none of it makes any sense to me, but that's what I imagined when I read the words anti-diet coach, haha. Well, that's all I've got for you today. I hope you enjoyed reading these posts with me, and hearing what I thought about them. What do you think? Does anyone with a BMI below 35 look sickly thin? Is fatphobia an artifact of white supremacy? Would you seek the services of an Anti-diet coach? Let me know in the comments. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe, or I'll hire you an anti-diet coach for Christmas, and make you put up with their BS antics for the whole following year. Just kidding, haha. Anyway, catch you later.